Let's talk about dash cams today. Most of them just sit there recording your drive. And that's it. The Vueroid S1 feels different. It quietly goes further. With a front and rear camera setup and smart AI features, it keeps an eye on what matters most around your car. We mounted it, tested it in daylight, at night, and even in extreme parking conditions, just to see how it behaves. Let's dive into how it really feels on the road. Let's get started. So when we first take it out, the front unit carries a bit of weight to it. It does not feel light or basic, which already gives a solid first impression since this sits on your windshield through daily heat and long drives. The body feels dense, and the hinge offers smooth adjustment so you can set the angle comfortably without it feeling loose over time. One thing that stands out is the mounting method. It uses an adhesive mount which is designed for strong long-term stability. Once placed, it holds firmly and stays consistent even in high-temperature conditions. Even under direct summer sunlight, it keeps its position steady, which ensures reliable performance during daily driving. It is more of a one-time setup style, where you install it once, and then it is ready for regular use without needing frequent repositioning. With the S1, the cradle is separable and powered independently, which adds another layer of convenience. After installation, you do not need to deal with repeated cable handling, and you can simply detach the main unit whenever needed while the base stays in place. Then you get the full setup with front and rear cameras, which already cover the essential driving views. There is also support for an optional interior camera if you want to expand the system later. Cable routing takes a bit of planning, especially for the rear line, but once it is set cleanly, the interior stays neat and organized. The screen is compact at around 2.3 inches, still clear enough for framing and quick checks. And the physical buttons feel responsive, which makes local control simple even without the app. So if you live in a hot area, this part matters a lot. The S1 is rated to handle temperatures up to 154 degrees Fahrenheit. But more importantly, it does not just shut down when it gets hot. Instead, it shifts into a low power state to protect itself and then wakes up instantly if something happens. That means you still get coverage even under extreme conditions. Then there is the file system. It is designed to prevent corruption if power cuts suddenly, so your footage stays safe. We did not face any file issues during testing, and that gives confidence, because losing footage is one of the worst things that can happen with a dashcam. Now this part surprised us a bit because parking mode here is not just one feature, it is a full system. You get time-lapse, motion detection, and extreme low power mode. And the way it behaves feels well thought out. In extreme low power mode, the camera barely uses battery, and when an impact happens, it wakes up in about a second and starts recording. That quick response is important because most incidents happen suddenly. There are also built-in battery protection settings, including power off voltage and low power mode entry timing. These let you control how the dash cam behaves during long parking periods, so it does not drain your car battery beyond a safe level. Beyond that, you can fine-tune how the system works depending on your priorities. Whether you want longer parking coverage or more buffered recording, you can adjust voltage and timing settings to decide if the camera shuts down or continues running in extreme low power mode. Then there is the geo-fencing feature. You can set safe zones like your home or office, and when you park there, parking mode turns off automatically. When you leave, it turns back on. So you do not have to think about it. It just adapts to your routine. Now this is where things get interesting. The front camera records in 4K, and honestly, you can feel that difference. During daytime drives, footage looks very sharp. Road signs are readable from a distance, and even small textures on the road show up clearly. And motion stays smooth. When you pass cars at speed, you do not get that heavy blur you see on cheaper dash cams. Now there's also some additional processing features like HDR and IPC, but it only works at 30 FPS. HDR helps balance bright and dark areas in high contrast scenes, while IPC focuses on improving license plate visibility, even in more challenging lighting. The trade-off is that overall image processing shifts slightly toward clarity over pure detail, but it can make a real difference when you need readable information. But let's keep it real. It is still a dashcam sensor, not an action camera, so dynamic range has its limits. In very harsh sunlight, you might still see some blown highlights. Still, for a dashcam, it holds up better than most. Now at night, it gets more interesting. It uses a Sony Starvis 2 sensor, and you can tell it is doing some heavy lifting. Low light scenes stay visible, and headlights do not completely wash out everything. And then there is their own image processing. Instead of just trusting the name, we looked at the footage. And what we noticed is better balance. Shadows hold detail, and bright spots do not kill the scene entirely. It is not perfect, but it is more controlled than what you usually get in this category. So the front camera gives you around 151 degrees field of view, and in real use, that feels wide enough. You can see adjacent lanes clearly, and that matters when something happens slightly off-center. The rear camera complements that by covering what is happening behind you, giving you a more complete picture during driving. While it does not match the front in resolution, it still captures enough detail to understand events clearly. There is also the option to add an interior camera if needed, but for most drivers, the front and rear combination already covers the most important angles. So instead of trying to do everything at once, this setup feels focused, covering what matters most on the road. So this is where Vueroid tries to separate itself. You get AI license plate restoration and privacy protection. Now we tested the plate restoration, and it does work. If a plate is slightly blurry or far, the system can enhance it and make it more readable. But do not expect miracles. If the original frame has no data, it cannot invent it. Also, this process is not instant. You need to run it through the app, and depending on the clip, it takes time. So it is more of a post-event tool, not something you rely on immediately. Privacy protection is simpler. It blurs faces and plates automatically, which is actually useful if you plan to share footage. And it works quite consistently. So living with it daily, a few things stand out. You get Wi-Fi connectivity, which lets you transfer files to your phone easily. And it uses MP4 format, so playback works on almost any device. You can power it through the car or through USB-C, which gives flexibility, especially if you want extended parking coverage using a power bank. But the app is an important part of the experience, especially for AI tools and deeper settings. And while it works fine, it does add one more step. So if you prefer simple plug-and-play devices, this might feel a bit more involved. After spending time with it, this dashcam feels less like a simple recorder and more like a system you can rely on. The image quality is strong, the front and rear coverage handles the essentials, and the features all work toward one goal, making sure nothing important is missed. Because at the end of the day, image quality only matters if the camera is actually recording when something happens. Whether the car is sitting under the sun, parked overnight, or left unattended for hours, this is designed to keep working without interruption. From its heat handling to its parking mode and power management, everything here is built around reliability. And that is really what matters most. You never know when an incident might happen, so the camera has to be ready every time. Once it is installed, it quietly does its job in the background, so you do not have to think about it. And that peace of mind is what makes the biggest difference. That was all. Thanks for watching. If you found it helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more videos. And don't forget to share your experience in the comments.